So that was the government leader in the Lords summoning MPs to make their way. The Black Rod is now making the short journey right the way down the Houses of Parliament through Central Lobby, which is where you'll see guests arriving and cameras popping up, and all the way Black Rod. Now you can see them walking into Central Lobby on this journey that takes maybe only another minute or so in order to summon members of the House of Commons, MPs, who are sitting in their seats for the first time. You can see a healthy crowd has gathered in that most iconic of central chambers as the Houses of Parliament. And in just a few more metres, Black Rod will process into Members' Lobby, which is a private space just for MPs and a handful of journalists. You can see there the crowd and the statues that look over Central Lobby, just as Black Rod completes her procession to the entrance of the House of Commons, which we should see in a moment.
It's Black Rod. Open the door. Black Rod!
Members of the House of Commons, the Lords who are duly authorised by virtue of His Majesty's Commission to declare the opening of Parliament, desire the presence of this Honourable House in the House of Peers to hear the Commission read.
That's Sir Edward Lee, as Father of the House, starting to make his way alongside Black Rod. You can see the Chief Whip for the governing benches, Alan Campbell, and Stuart Andrew, his Conservative counterpart, as the second figures. And then you will see in pairs the House of Commons turn around and wait while that group of 6, I think it was, make their way now back to the House of Lords to see and hear the Commission. What you're seeing at the moment is the functioning of our unwritten constitution, the elegant way in which power is exercised in this country, flowing from the monarchy down through, in a ceremonial way, the House of Lords. There you have a handful of members of Parliament making their way back through Central Lobby, that central vestibule of the Houses of Parliament, the meeting point between commoners and MPs and peers, through to the House of Lords, where that gang of MPs will receive their instructions from the House of Lords. In effect, what's going on is that the House of Lords will issue instructions to the Commons to elect a Speaker, but done in a way, done through ceremony and done with the weight of hundreds of years of tradition behind it.
My Lords and members of the House of Commons, we are commanded by His Majesty to let you know that it has not been convenient for him to be present here on this day in his royal person. He hath thought fit by letters patent under the Great Seal to empower several lords therein named to do all things in His Majesty's name which are to be done on His Majesty's part in this Parliament, as by the letters patent will more fully appear. My Lords and members of the House of Commons, we have it in command from His Majesty to let you know that as soon as members of both Houses shall be sworn, the quarters of His Majesty calling this Parliament will be declared to you. And it being necessary that a Speaker of the House of Commons should be first chosen, it is His Majesty's pleasure that you, members of the House of Commons, repair to the place where you are to sit, and there proceed to the choice of some proper person to be your Speaker. and that you present such person, whom you shall so choose, here for His Majesty's royal approbation.
The solemn moment that connects monarchy to Parliament, the House of Lords to the King, has just seen, through his officials and his peers, the House of Lords command the start of a new Parliament for the next 5 years. Baroness Smith of Basildon saying that the King has ordered a certain Parliament to be holden at the City of Westminster, explaining the King cannot be present as much as we cannot be present. She said, nevertheless, giving instructions to the Commons to elect a new Speaker and saying that shortly the King will attend Parliament for the King's speech, where the causes of this government will be known, the government's direction will be known. You saw Edward Lee and Diane Abbott walking back towards the House of Commons for the next part of this ceremony. Having received their instruction, they will now take that to the almost 650 figures that you can see on your screen right now in order to begin the process of choosing a new Speaker, or much more likely reconfirming Sir Lindsay Hoyle as that individual. Sir Edward Lee takes his place at the clerk's table in order to begin the process of choosing the Speaker.
Order. Under the provisions of Standing Order Number 1A, I am now required to ascertain whether Sir Lindsay Hoyle is willing to be chosen as Speaker, and I call Sir Lindsay Hoyle.
Yeah! Firstly, I'd like to thank my constituents of Chorley for returning me to this House and allowing me to put myself forward again as Speaker. It is an honour to serve the people of Chorley, as I have done steadfastly for the last 44 years as a councillor and on that local authority, then a Member of Parliament for the last 27 years. I want to say a warm welcome to all the new members of the House.
The Honourable Member for Lancaster and Wyre to move the motion.
Thank you, Sir Edward. I beg to move that Sir Lindsay Hoyle do take the chair of the House of Commons. The best thing, as far as I'm concerned, about having Lindsay as Speaker is how good it is to have someone in the chair who doesn't have an accent. And I've been talking to lots of my constituents over the past 6 weeks, and they agree with me too. Proud and honoured to propose that Sir Lindsay Hoyle takes the chair today.
The question is that Sir Lindsay Hoyle do take the chair of this House as Speaker. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of that opinion say no to the contrary. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Sir Lindsay Hoyle being dragged to the chair now after a unanimous re-election as Speaker. Just a few months ago, dozens of MPs opposing him continuing in that job, now electing unopposed. You can see David Davis, one of the veterans of the Commons, and Cat
Before
Smith.
I take the chair of Speaker-elect, I wish to thank the House for the honour that is again bestowed upon me. I am aware that it is the greatest honour it can give any of its members. I propose to do all within my power to preserve and cherish its best traditions. Right, can I just also say thank you to both of you, Kat and David, thank you. That members will respect that it is only leaders, and I'm sorry for other members that may wish to speak, but I've got to say a big thank you to the staff of this House for the way that they've ensured all new members, the way that they've been brought in and shown the way around. I hope the bodies and everybody involved has made a real difference. I've got to say, it is light years from '97 when I first came in, and may we continue with that. I now call the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker-elect, on behalf of the whole House, may I be the first to congratulate you on your re-election. Those of us here in the previous Parliament will always remember the wonderful support that you provided to the former Conservative member, Craig McKinley, and his inspiring battle to overcome his injuries from sepsis. Because service is a precondition for hope and trust, and the need to restore trust should weigh heavily on every member here, new and returning alike. We all have a duty to show that politics can be a force for good. So whatever our political differences, it's now time to turn the page, unite in a common endeavour of national renewal, and make this new Parliament a Parliament of service. Thank you.
I now call the Leader of the Opposition, Rishi Sunak.
Well, Mr. Speaker-elect, I'm pleased to join the Prime Minister in welcoming you back to the Speaker's chair. And can I also praise the wonderful speech from the Honourable Member for Lancaster and Wyre? And can I start by congratulating the Prime Minister on his election victory? And as he takes on his formidable task, he and his family deserve the good wishes of all of us in this House. Now, in our politics, we can argue vigorously, as the Prime Minister and I did over the past 6 weeks, but still respect each other.
I call the Father of the House, Sir Edward Lee.
Mr. Speaker-elect, as the first backbencher to speak in this Parliament, I seem to remember that almost the very first thing you said, almost before you even arrived in the chair to start your distinguished career as our Speaker, you said that your primary job was to defend us backbenchers. And I know that you will do that with enormous spirit and diligence.
The Member of the House, Diana Abbott.
I would like to congratulate the Speaker-elect on his election and say this. He has been a Speaker through tumultuous times, but he has never failed to serve with grace and expertise and fairness. I would also like to congratulate the 304 new members of Parliament who have entered Parliament after this election and say to them, it is a great job and you will never regret coming here.
I call Sir Lucy Eastwood on behalf of the Alliance Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I warmly congratulate you on your re-election as Speaker-elect. I am here as the new MP for Lagan Valley and representative for the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland. My presence here demonstrates a changing, more shared and integrated Northern Ireland, and of that in Alliance we are very proud. You have managed business smoothly and fairly, including ensuring that smaller parties have had their voices heard.
So it is a big thank you to all of them.
I have to signify to the House the pleasure of His Majesty that the House should present their Speaker this day at 3:45 p.m. in the House of Peers for His Majesty's royal approbation.
My Lords and members of the House of Commons, it is mindful of the legacy of service and devotion to this country set by my beloved mother, the late Queen, that I deliver this, the first King's speech in over 70 years. The impact of COVID and the war in Ukraine have created significant long-term challenges for the United Kingdom. That is why my government's priority is to make the difficult but necessary long-term decisions to change this country for the better. My minister's focus is on increasing economic growth and safeguarding the health and security of the British people for generations to come. My government will continue to take action to bring down inflation, to ease the cost of living for families, and help businesses fund new jobs and investment. My ministers will support the Bank of England to return inflation to target by taking responsible decisions on spending and borrowing. These decisions will help household finances, reduce public sector debt, and safeguard the financial security of the country. Legislation will be introduced to strengthen the United Kingdom's energy security, building on the United Kingdom's track record of decarbonising faster than other G7 economies. My government will invest in Network North to deliver faster and more reliable journeys between and within the cities and towns of the North and Midlands, prioritising improving the journeys that people make most often. My ministers will strengthen education for the long term. Steps will be taken to ensure young people have the knowledge and skills to succeed through the introduction of the Advanced British Standard that will bring technical and academic routes into a single qualification and encourage innovation in technologies such as machine learning. Working with NHS England, my government will deliver its plans to cut waiting lists and transform the long-term workforce of the National Health Service. This will include delivering on the NHS Workforce Plan, the first long-term plan to train the doctors and nurses the country needs, and minimum service levels to prevent strikes from undermining patient safety. Record levels of investment are expanding and transforming mental health services to ensure more people can access the support they need. My government will introduce legislation to create a smoke-free generation by restricting the sale of tobacco so that children currently aged 14 or younger can never be sold cigarettes, and restricting the sale and marketing of e-cigarettes to children. My ministers will bring forward a bill to reform the housing market by making it cheaper and easier for leaseholders to purchase their freehold and tackling the exploitation of millions of homeowners through punitive service charges. Renters will benefit from stronger security of tenure and better value, while landlords will benefit from reforms to provide certainty that they can regain their properties when needed. My government will deliver a long-term plan to regenerate towns and put local people in control of their future. Legislation will be brought forward to safeguard the future of football clubs for the benefit of communities and fans. A bill will be introduced to deal with the scourge of unlicensed pedicabs in London. My government is committed to tackling anti-Semitism and ensuring that the Holocaust is never forgotten. A bill will progress the construction of a National Holocaust Memorial and Learning Centre in Victoria Tower Gardens. My government will act to keep communities safe from crime, antisocial behaviour, terrorism and illegal migration. A bill will be brought forward to ensure tougher sentences for the most serious offenders and increase the confidence of victims. Legislation will be introduced to protect public premises from terrorism in light of the Manchester Arena attack. My ministers will work closely with international partners to support Ukraine, strengthen NATO, and address the most pressing security challenges. leading global conversations on the United Kingdom's most pressing challenges. My government will, in all respects, seek to make long-term decisions in the interests of future generations. My ministers will address inflation and the drivers of low growth over demands for greater spending or borrowing. My Lords and members of the House of Commons, other measures will be laid before you. I pray that the blessing of Almighty God may rest upon your counsels.